Rhythm Zero by Marina Abramovic. Have you ever wondered what would happen if somebody took away your rights? It is likely that your rights have been changed or violated at some point in your lifetime. Rights are a moral or legal entitlement that somebody can obtain and are often protected under law or constitution. However, rights also come with responsibilities. Your responsibilities are to exercise and use your rights in a way that does not infringe on other people's rights. If a person has more power due to wealth or position, this person is responsible for not taking advantage of those in a lesser power. In 1974, Marina Abramovic did a social experiment called Rhythm Zero, where she gave up all her rights, essentially became an object, and tested the limits to the human mind and body. Her becoming an object represented how women were seen. She placed an arrangement of items on a table that the public could use on her for any purpose, and for 6 heart-wrenching hours she stood there and let people do whatever they wanted to her without any repercussions. She simulated what having no rights could resemble. This project made a powerful point to the world by allowing us a glance inside what marginalized groups have gone through in the past, and unfortunately today as well. Her project was dedicated to women's suffrage, but the agony that she endured during this experiment could apply to most minority groups, such as people of color, Jewish people, queer people, and so on. Her experiment demonstrated how if you don't protect your own rights, while some may come to your aid, most will look the other way. Therefore, you are the only one who can protect your rights. Although you may not know about Marina Abramovic or her art, she has still made a lasting impact on women's and humans' rights by highlighting the topics that are uncomfortable yet necessary to create a more peaceful world. Marina Abramovic was born on November 30th, 1946 in Belgrade, Serbia, and was raised by her deeply religious grandmother. Although Marina herself did not subscribe to any religion, she participated in her grandmother's rituals. She was also a very intelligent girl, and always had a passion for the arts, as she was exceptional at painting and drawing. When she was 6 years old, her brother Velimir was born, and she moved back in with her parents. Life with her parents was difficult. They had an unstable marriage, and their overpowering manipulative personalities made it hard for Marina to be herself. In an interview published in 1998, Abramovic reveals that she was beaten by her mother multiple times and described the incident from when her father smashed 12 champagne glasses and left the house. "It was the most horrible moment of my childhood," she said. Despite these hardships, she prevailed, and at the age of 19, she got into the Academy of Fine Arts in Belgrade. In this academy, she discovered a newfound love for performance art and decided to pursue it. The Rhythm series was a compilation of performances that were made to test the human mind and body. She started at Rhythm 10, which was her first performance where she played a game of hand roulette. When she had 10 cuts on her hand, she tried to repeat her exact movements. The purpose was to try to bring the past into the present. Next, she created Rhythm 5, in which she cut her hair and nails and threw them into a star that was lit on fire to represent a physical and mental purification, showing that she was willing to physically harm herself in the name of art. During the finale, she passed out. She then performed Rhythm 2. She took 2 counteracting medications to show how you can reverse effects in life. Then went back up to Rhythm 4. She stood naked by an industrial fan while trying to breathe as much oxygen in while slowly walking towards it. Then she created her most terrifying performance piece, Rhythm Zero. This was a 6-hour-long endurance performance that took place in 1974 in Naples, Italy. There were 72 items on the table. She chose
for pleasure and for the pain.
These items ranged from a coat, a glass of water, a rose, and blue paint, to knives, an axe, a hammer, chains, and a pistol loaded with 1 bullet. She took to the stage with the sign saying, "I am an object. You can use anything on the table on me. I am taking all responsibility." And the exposition began. In her TED Talk, An Art Made of Trust, Vulnerability, and Connection, she explains what happened that day. She said, "The beginning of this performance was easy, but after very soon, there was a man that took the scissors and cut my clothes. This was the very moment when people truly realized that they could do anything they wanted to her without any repercussions, and they did. They started to take the rose thorns and stick them into her stomach, cut her, and drank her blood. This is about the time that her faith and trust in humanity started to leave her body, as she understood how rough these next 6 hours would truly be. They started to sexually assault her. She said that the only reason why people did not rape her was because their spouses were present, and there were cameras recording. Nobody was going to lose their dignity, but they were completely fine with taking hers away. Somebody took the pistol and aimed it at her head, with their finger on the trigger. Fortunately, people ended up wrestling it away. She sat there, and after 6 hours of watching people hurt her, she stood up from the chair that they had put her on, and the audience fled. Nobody even tried to own up to what they did, because they were worried about the backlash that they could face. They fled because they knew deep down that what they were doing was wrong. From a certain standpoint, these violations on her body were legal because she consented to the project and signed away her rights. However, she could have pursued legal action because, according to the Italian government page, an individual cannot consent to circumstances that involve a possibility of serious bodily injury. When Abramovic gave her consent to allow the public to do whatever they wanted to her, they hurt her. They hurt her so much that she still has the scars today at 78 years old. But she said that she would take full responsibility and therefore she did not pursue legal action. Her experiment made a strong point on how if you don't protect your rights, no one will for you. In Abramovic's case, she did have people try to help her. Some tried to wipe her tears away, make a circle around her, and cover her body up, yet she still had these horrible things happen to her. None of this would have happened if they knew she would protect herself. A person in a place of power should never take advantage of a person who is vulnerable. With rights comes responsibilities, and one of those responsibilities is to respect other people's rights. A responsibility is not a legal requirement, but rather socially and morally necessary for a peaceful world. One argument that people use when debating whether what happened to her was completely justifiable is that she technically consented and gave the public access to materials that were made to hurt her. However, this is a problematic thought process, because the people who cut her, sexually assaulted her, and held her at gunpoint all think the same way. There is a question that many need to ask themselves today, and that is this right? The audience of her performance saw Marina Abramovic bleeding, half-naked, and crying, and they did not take a second to step back and think about how, although she did consent, she clearly did not like what was happening to her body. Although nobody should think that it is morally okay to hurt innocent people, it is necessary for people to maintain their self-control to make the world a better and safer place for all.
I went to the hotel. It was at 2 in the morning. And I looked myself in the mirror. And I had a piece of gray hair. All right?
Marina Abramovic was put under so much stress that her hair started to turn gray. Along with the clear effect on Marina Abramovic's body, Rhythm Zero also created heaps of controversy, and it took time to process what Rhythm Zero entailed. But once people understood the gravity of what it evoked, it started to inspire people. Some of the people in the art industry, especially performance art, are just exploiting it for money. However, this piece of art inspired many artists around the world to push their own limits. It also created a certain fire in the women's suffrage movement due to the fact that people have come so far in fighting for their rights, but all it takes is just one little setback for people to forget their responsibilities and what is and isn't right. Rhythm Zero by Marina Abramovic was a disappointing yet extraordinary experiment that demonstrated what it would be like to have no rights. This exposed the true human nature and what will happen if you do not protect yourself. Abramovic put herself through a very traumatic experience so that no one else would have to, and showed us why we can't put our guards down. We live in a world where you can't trust a stranger to treat you with common decency, and that is the concluding theme of Rhythm Zero. You have to fight for your rights and conduct yourself to adhere to your responsibilities.